Welcome back, everybody. You're listening to The Introverted Nerd Watches. I, of course, am your host, Reese. And today I watched Season 3, Episode 17 of Saved by the Bell. Breaking up is hard to undo. So this is the penultimate episode. There's only one more episode left in Season 3. And then we move on to more breakups, Malibu Sand beach clubs, and Hawaii, and just a ton of other shit that happens in Saved by the Bell that comes up after this. I'm so excited. We're going to get through this, but first, you should subscribe to the podcast because that's just the right thing to do. If you're a good person, you would subscribe. It's so serious. The podcast is available on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Play, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, wherever you get your podcasts, I am there. You should follow me on social media because this in particular is going to be a very busy week. By the time you hear this episode will go up on Thursday. I'm changing everything around. So I decided to cover season 4 of Fear the Walking Dead. You know how I feel. If you've listened to this show, you know how I feel about The Walking Dead. This has not been a great season. But Fear the Walking Dead is supposed to be really good, and season 4 is getting a lot of good reviews, and just leading up to this, it's been getting season 3 has been, anybody who watched both shows has said that Fear the Walking Dead is better than The Walking Dead. Now, I stopped watching Fear the Walking Dead in season 2. So I don't know that life. I don't know a good Fear the Walking Dead. I only know the crap that was season 1 and the first. I believe I stopped watching in the first half of season 2. So I don't know anything about anything post 2-8, season 2, episode 8. So, or season, whatever. It doesn't matter. So I decided to cover season 4, and so that should be a lot of fun. Morgan is going to that show. If you watch The Walking Dead, you know Morgan and all that. So you follow me on social media and I will tell you all about my plans. Follow me on Twitter at TINerdPod. On Instagram, I'm at TheIntrovertedNerd, and like the Facebook page at facebook.com/TheIntrovertedNerd, and you'll get all of the posts and about the feedback and the new schedule. I'll put out posts on Mondays on across Twitter, Facebook, Instagram about how the schedule is going to work out, because it just sort of pushes everything back. This episode is going to be out on Thursday. You'll be listening to this on Thursday, and the final episode of Black Lightning, of the first season of Black Lightning, airs this week too. So, and I'm not going to change that at all. It's just going to air. It's going to that episode is going to come out on Friday like they usually do. So since that ends, it'll just be Fear the Walking Dead and Saved by the Bell, unless I decide to add something else, because I'm thinking about adding another show. I'm putting a lot on myself. So just bear with me. Not a whole lot will change. It's just a change of day. So if you're expecting to hear this on Wednesday, it'll be a Throwback Thursday thing instead of a Way Back Wednesday thing. It's all about the name that I give this episode. And for anybody that is going to complain about all of these shows being on the same feed, I'm sorry, but podcasting kind of expensive, and this is for free. So, don't complain. Just accept your free gifts and move on. Unless you want me to start charging for this, because I'm certainly willing to put up a Patreon and let everybody else fit the bill for this, the monthly bill for this. But I'm not going to do that right now. Just don't worry about it. Just accept that they're all on the same feed for the time being. And let's get into breaking up is hard to undo, because I kind of love this episode. Oh my god. It was it had everything that I love. Okay. They gave me a new Lisa outfit. This is the first thing I have to talk about because this is the greatest thing ever. They need to do this for every episode. This would be so much more enjoyable for me if they would give me a Lisa outfit in every episode, and then I would never have anything else to say bad about the show. It would just be, I could just, sort of marinate in the greatness that is Lisa's outfits. Okay, so my girl was wearing a matching denim floral outfit. So it's the floral denim jacket and the jeans. I think they're like Bermuda shorts. I think they're called. They're kind of like longer jean shorts. And she's wearing the white sneakers with the socks that are like really those like early 90s socks that I used to love so much. Hers were white, but I used to wear them in like neon colors, but they're the socks that are like really chunky and then you push them down and they're like, I don't know, it was greatness. And to top it all off, she was wearing these giant sparkly star earrings. I mean, it was Gemini holograms would be jealous of Lisa in this episode because she was the best. I actually started screaming when I saw that. I was like, oh my God, Lisa. I was so excited about that outfit she was wearing. And it only needs to be that one outfit. I'm telling you, it was greatness. I missed this Lisa, the Lisa that used to wear tons of fringe. And yeah, so that I need that back. I need that in my life. You don't know. This rewatch would just be so much better if Lisa would wear those earrings with a different fringy denim outfit. It would be blissful for me. So this episode is about all of the breakups going on in the group. So Jesse and Slater are officially unofficial. Well, they go from unofficial to official. So they're sitting in the max with Lisa, Kelly, and Zack. And Zack, there's been a time jump. This is really stupid that I'm even keeping track of this because, we know how the episodes air. They air out of order all the time. But Zack makes the point to say that he and Kelly have been going steady since for 68 days and however many hours, whatever. He says the whole thing, but it's 68 days. And so they've been together for a while. So the whole nurse thing, dumping Kelly for the nurse has been forgotten. Kelly has forgiven him because they're being really cutesy in the max together. Jesse and Slater they're being cutesy too, and they're doing the gross thing of sharing a milkshake. That really grosses me out. I cannot share drinks with people. It just, especially through straws, because I feel like, whatever you're drinking, like, doesn't go all the, like, it is gross. I don't like it. It's not cute to me. All I could think about was like, ew, they're both spitting in their in the milkshake. It's gross to me. Don't ever do it. And don't ever ask me to do it if we're ever, like, ladies, just don't ever offer to do that with me. It's not cute. Just heads up for whoever wants to date me. So they're being cutesy, those two couples, and Zack makes the point, or Zack wonders why Jesse and Slater aren't like officially going steady, because everybody knows that they've been sort of unofficial since they went to the prom together, which was a while ago. That was in the beginning of the season, where the prom, right? Where we found out Kelly was a poor. And so Jessie says, what did she say? She says that monogamous relationships are restrictive and possessive. So she and Slater have decided to be more open. And I was like, what? Like, where the hell does that come from? And of course, Slater nods his head and agrees with her. And, just Zach and Kelly are sort of like disinterested in that answer. And they're like, whatever, Jesse, like, get the fuck out of here. And they leave. So Jesse and Slater start talking, and she's like, oh, well, did you really agree with me? And I'm like, no, Jesse, he didn't really agree with you because what you said was stupid. What teenager, what 15 or 16-year-old is walking around talking about monogamous relationships being restrictive and possessive? Like, dude? You're in a monogamous relationship right now. If you're not dating anybody else, you're only dating Slater. You two are together. Stop it. And why did they even, like, this is so the writers being like, we don't know any young women. We don't know any teenagers. All of our kids are 50 because we're 90 years old writing this show. And this is what we think a teenage feminist girl would be, and she would be spouting a whole bunch of bullshit. And so, but they sort of, I don't know what happens between the Max and school. I don't know if this is the next day or later the same day, because you know how they go to the Max in the middle of the day, like they own everything around there. So I'm going to stop complaining about it. So between the Max and going to school, Jesse and Slater have become officially a couple. They're going steady, and it's so official that Lisa knows about it. And Lisa's spreading the word about it. She's like, "Oh my God, I can't believe it! I have to spread the word to everybody. Jesse and Slater are official." And it's all in the middle of the hallway, and they're kissing in the middle of the They're kissing on the stairs in the hall. So it's like, okay, so they're official. And it only happened so that they can break up like 2 seconds after this, because they're supposed to be going on a date on Saturday night, and it's going to be their official going steady date that for whatever. And so they both, they decide to go on this date, and then they both go off in their separate directions, and they never talk to each other again until it's time to tell each other where they're going on a date. And it's like, well, wouldn't it have been smarter to talk to each other about making plans so neither of you do something, like make plans that can't be broken? This is on you. I'm going to blame Jessie for all of this, because her whole outfit got on my nerves. So I'm going to blame her because I didn't like her outfit. So Zack and Kelly get into it because Zack goes to talk to Kelly because their 6-week anniversary. This is another thing that bothers me when people talk about anniversaries for things that aren't annual. Like, it's not an anniversary unless it happens annually. Like 10 weeks together is not an anniversary. 10 weeks together is like a nice thing for you, and you can celebrate being together for 10 weeks, but don't call it your anniversary, Zack. That bothers me. I need the whole entire world to change their ways to the way that I want it. So no anniversaries unless it happens on an annual basis. Okay. We all agree, right? It is decided. So Zack talks to Kelly, and he's telling her about where he wants to go out on Saturday night. It's their 10 weeks together. And Kelly's like, well, sorry, Zack, I can't go. I'm going to have dinner with my ex-boyfriend, Todd. And Zack is like, Todd with the Ferrari? And I'm like, wait, you had a boyfriend before Zack? When did that happen, Kelly? Where was I when that was happening? Because I have been watching this show. We have all been watching this show every week, right? where was the boyfriend? Where did this Todd come from? Todd, who's coming back into town. Like, how old are they again? They're 16 years old, right? And she has a boyfriend coming back into town to take her out to dinner. These are really mature 16-year-olds because, I mean, I didn't have a boyfriend or girlfriend that was coming into town to visit me, but I have friends that came in and out of town, and we were not going to dinner together at like 16. I don't know, or dinner would have been like McDonald's or something. I don't know. We were not going out. It was not like some official thing where we were taking, and Kelly, it doesn't have the money for this. So Todd is definitely paying for everything. I really appreciate Kelly is trying to secure the bag really young. You know, she had Todd, who has the Ferrari, obviously comes from a family with money. Kelly is really trying to stay around these rich kids so she's really trying to secure that bag. She does not want to be poor forever. She is not trying to live with her 8 family members for the rest of her life. I appreciate it, girl. Get it. Do your thing, girl, because I only have one brother, and I was like, oh, I cannot imagine sharing with as many brothers and sisters as she has. So if you got to be with Todd and Zach or whoever, do your thing. Or, go get an education and make your own money, blah, blah, blah. That's the feminist thing to say. But I'm like, hey, if you're around all these rich people, you want to be with a rich person. You run in these circles. I've got no problem with Kelly. So Kelly tells Zach that she's going out with Todd. And I thought that was kind of weird. It's like, did Kelly know that Zach wanted to celebrate their 10 weeks together or 2 months together, however long it is, this milestone? Did she know that he wanted to celebrate, or is this just something that Zach came up with, like, arbitrarily? Is Kelly like me and only thinks that anniversaries happen annually, so you don't need to celebrate like 10 weeks or these like mini increments together? I don't know. Maybe she is like me, and that's probably more why I was like right on her side, like in this. Her and I were simpatico because I was like, who cares? He's her friend. And it was what she says is like, hey, this guy is my friend, Zach. Why are you making a big deal out of this? And he looks at it like you're going on a date with another guy. Stop it. And she's like, well, whatever. He walks away and he just walks away and he's like, I can't put up with this. And he just walks away from her in the hallway. So they get back to the Max, all 4 people, the 2 couples, and Jesse and Slater are like, hey, I have our date Saturday all planned. They both say that. And I'm like, once again, why aren't you talking to each other? How can you both make all the plans for your date on one night and have there not be a problem? There is definitely going to be a problem. So Jesse's big plan is to go out to dinner to some fancy place, which Slater was fine with. And then she says she has tickets to the ballet. I'm like, girl, do you know who you're dating? What made you think that this guy would want to go to the ballet? That A.C. Slater, Albert Clifford Slater, would want to go to the ballet? Like, okay, Jesse, you're doing this on purpose. Like, are you testing him to see how absurd you can be before he breaks up with your ass? Like, really? And then Slater, my dude, says, you know what, Jesse, like, forget about all that ballet shit. I got tickets to the Raiders. Once again, Slater, who the fuck do you think you're going out with? Does she look like Jessie? Jessie insults her friends for being cheerleaders. She is not the type of girl you take to a football game. I don't know who, like, unless the woman that you're going out with actually likes football, I don't think football is a good date place. I was thinking about this last night, and I was thinking, like, Okay, basketball and baseball are the two date sports. That's what I think it is, because they're not, like, baseball is really boring, or not too, it's like there's a lull in the game. It's like really relaxing type of thing. So I feel like you could take a date there, and they have the kiss cam and all that. It's been a while since I've been to a baseball game, but I'm just saying, from what I see on TV, like when I'm flicking through and all that, it's like baseball it's kind of a date kind of thing, right? And that's the way I feel about basketball. So I feel like a woman, you could take a woman or just a person who doesn't like baseball or basketball to a baseball and basketball game, and they would be just fine. And it will be a kind of a fun experience. And you can still kind of talk to each other, but it's not like football. See, football and what's that other sport? Hockey. Football and hockey seem really intense. You have to pay a lot of attention. There's a lot of shit going on. So yeah, that's my ruling. No football games for dates, unless the woman or the person you're going out with likes football. Yeah, so that it's decided. Again, it is decided. That's my ruling. So, and this makes even less sense, because once again, I'm not a football fan. I don't know a ton about the NFL. I do know the Raiders are in the NFL, right? And their date is supposed to be on Saturday night. Football is on Sundays and Mondays, right? And the only time football is on Saturdays, NFL football is on Saturdays, is during like the playoffs. I could be wrong about that, but I'm almost certain that I'm right, that there's no football on Saturdays, unless there's the playoffs. And I don't even know. And this was like in 1990s, like the early 90s. So this could be completely different back then. I could be completely wrong about it, but this was ridiculous to me, because I was like, why would you even invite her to a football game? Why wouldn't you go with your friends? Why wouldn't you go with Zack Slater? Why wouldn't you invite your boy Zack to the football game? Because this is not something that Jesse wants to do. This is not even something that you would want to do with Jesse. Why would you want to take Jesse to a football game? You know she wouldn't like it. Slater, you're so stupid. You're both so stupid. So they get mad at each other, and he's like, what, he says, why would you think that? What made you think I would want to go to ballet to see some guys dressed up in tights? Of course, it has to be something like meatheady about it. And Jesse's like, well, it serves me right for going out with a sexist pig. And I cracked up when Slater says, well, oink oink baby. You should have thought about that, or something, whatever he says after that. But I died when he was like, well, oink oink baby, and sort of walks out on her, and she storms out. They storm out. So after that happens, and Lisa is sitting on the sidelines in all of this, sort of watching all the madness happen, reporting the gossip for the school, for her radio show that we've never seen again, and probably isn't still happening. But in my head, she is doing all of this for her radio gossip show. So Zack walks in, and he sits Kelly down, and he says, you know what, Kelly, I've decided that I don't want you going out with your ex-boyfriend. And Kelly just like, she gives him like this look like, what the fuck are you talking about? You can't decide anything. You're not my daddy. I can make my own decisions. You can't tell me what to do and who to be friends with. And Zack is trying to like be tough, I guess. And he's like, well, it's either me or him. And Kelly, I love you so much in this moment. Cause she was like, that's real cute, Zack. Took off that ring that he gave her and says, well, bye. Sits that ring on the table and she leaves. And Zack is left there trying to like pick up his heart off the floor because she ripped that shit out as soon as she took that ring off. And he's looking stupid because he's giving ultimatums and got his feelings hurt. It's like, oh well, you should have thought about that. You already dumped her for the fucking school nurse. You know, you can't be Zach Morris walking around making ultimatums after all the shit you've done. You better just be happy that Kelly is with you. And, you know, be on your P's and Q's at all times because she could dump you at any moment for just looking at her the wrong way because Zach is a piece of shit and he deserves zero benefit of the doubt. And Kelly should just be on alert at all times. There should never be a point where Zach is trying to be tough with anybody. He's lucky he has friends. He is just too lucky. Ugh. So they have a student council meeting and they're talking about school uniforms and the boys need uniforms. And Jessie uses her student body president status to just to fuck with Slater. So they disrupt the student council meeting by arguing. So the four of them get called to the office. And Mr. Belding wants to know what's going on. And so, you know, Zack tells him that Kelly is cheating on him. Jessie and Slater call each other meathead and skinny lips. And they're just calling each other names. And so Mr. Belding is like, well, what does this have to do with school uniforms or anything? What does this have to do with school, basically? And they're like, well, nothing. It's just all personal shit that we're teenagers. We can't control ourselves. And so Mr. Belding is like, well, you have to learn to, when you're in relationships, you have to learn to compromise and talk to each other. And his wife calls in the middle of this and he's like, okay, look at this, kids. I'm going to teach you how people in a relationship communicate with each other. So his wife, Becky Belding, that name, he gets on the phone with her and they have a whole conversation about how he doesn't want his mother-in-law staying at the house, and they get upset with each other. She hangs up, and as soon as Mr. Belding gets off the phone, everything he tries to say, he said before he spoke to his wife, goes out of the window, and he immediately sides with the boys. He tells Jessie to basically do what Slater says. He tells Kelly to stop leading Zack on. And it's a whole men stick together kind of thing. So the girls storm out. Mr. Belding somehow ends up at the Max with Screech. And he won't let Screech leave. Screech is trying to get away from him. This is the one moment in this entire show where I actually feel sorry for Screech because Mr. Belding just can't take a hint. Screech is like trying to dip out so bad. He's just trying to use everything he can to try to dip out on Mr. Belding. And Mr. Belding actually gets up and grabs him and brings him back to the booth so he can continue talking. It's like, Mr. Belding, you're like a 50-year-old man. Don't you have friends your own age? Get a life. But instead of doing that, he follows Screech over to Zack's house. This is, oh my God, this is terrible. I had a teacher, my 6th grade teacher, Miss Brown. What's her Miss Brown? Yeah, my 6th grade teacher, Miss Brown, lived right up the street from my grandmother's house. And I used to see her all the time walking her 2 little dogs. She was my math teacher and my homeroom teacher. I used to see her all the time walking her 2 little dogs, and it was the worst thing ever. I mean, she waved to me. We barely spoke to each other, but it was the worst thing. I cannot imagine having her coming to my house would have been, we gotta move now, right? It would have been, that's the kind of situation it would have been for me. It would have been like, okay, I would have told my girl, we gotta sell this house. She's been here, she's contaminated my safe space. She gotta go, we gotta go. Nobody can stay here anymore. So Mr. Belding going to Zach's house is the worst thing ever. He is so, oh, he sucks. So Mr. Belding is so comfortable. He comes in and he lays down on the bed. Like, he's like, hey guys, this is a man thing. We should bond. And they're like, Zack and Slater were already there, and they're talking about how to get the girls back. And they're like, what the fuck is he doing here? Like why is he doing this? But they sort of get over it because Mr. Belding, being an adult, has some money. So he buys them pizzas, and he's doing a whole lot of telling the boys how they should treat the women. And, he's telling them men don't need women. Women need men. And it's just a bunch of like crazy sexist shit that Mr. Belding is telling these teenage boys. So while that's going on, Lisa is talking to Jesse and Kelly, and she's trying to get them to make up with the guys. And she sort of explains it like, hey, Jesse, of course Slater wouldn't want to go to ballet. Get over this shit. You need to talk to each other. And Kelly, what if Zach decided to go on a date with some other girl? Like, how would you feel? So Lisa is the voice of reason, which is simultaneously like the best thing because Lisa is great, but it's also the worst thing because this is it's so shining a light on the fact that Lisa has zero to do. She does not have a life of her own. She's not in a relationship with anybody. Screech is the only other person that's in their friend group that she could get with. She's not interested in him. And so she doesn't have anything to do except to be everybody's best friend. Oh my God, my cat is so damn loud. She doesn't have anything to do except be everybody's best friend and to, fix the problems of all of these, like, let's face it, fix the problem of all of these white people and Slater. So it makes me sad that is what she's there for because, if we're going to be serious, Lisa's my favorite character. And I think before I started doing this rewatch, I had I thought she was a bigger part of the show. I think I've said this before, but I thought that she was a bigger part of the show. And watching this closely, like paying attention and having Saved by the Bell not just be background noise for me is really highlighting the fact that she does not have shit to do. She barely does anything. When she's in the episodes, even when she's in it, she's a background player. Like she's one of the main six, but she's 6 of 6, definitely. She's the sixth person in this 6-person ensemble. So I don't know. Maybe this will change as time goes on. I do remember some things that Lisa does in the future. So unless I was wrong about that and it just sort of, I changed it in my mind, it's just, my mind, making up my own fan fiction of Lisa Turtle fan fiction. I do know that she has more to do in the future and some other, she has some other things to do in the future. So I look forward to it. We'll talk about that when it happens. So she's trying to get these people back together and she goes to talk to the guys. She goes to Zach's house, but Mr. Belding is there and they're being gross and they all decide to belch at the same time because that's what men do. Is that really what men do? Is that That's such a TV thing though. Like guys want to sit around and fart with each other and belch and, you know, whatever. Like, is that really what you want to do? Um, I don't know. That's just, it's gross. Like, I mean, if that's what you want to do, great, but that just seems like it makes men seem really stupid. And you know, men wrote this show, and I can't. It's like, did you think that that was not stupid when you were writing it? It's like, as a man writing this show, is that what you wanted to do? Really? Okay. Rich men, like you're probably a, well, I don't know, you're a writer for Saved by the Bell, so you can't have that much money. You probably weren't making a ton of money writing for Saved by the Bell, so scratch that, scratch scratch what I was about to say about being rich. So they sort of yell at her like, no, man, get out, you know, woman. And so at school the next day, no, before they get to school, Zach wakes up and he's hallucinating Kelly everywhere. So she's in his closet handing him a shirt, and she's in the mirror and he tries to kiss the mirror. And, you know, it's just like he's so in love with Kelly. You know, they need to get back together. So he gets to school and Slater is in the bath or the locker room working out. And he's been hallucinating. You know, he says that he's seen Jessie everywhere. He saw her. He kissed his dog thinking that it was Jessie. So they're all fucked up. You know, they were listening to Mr. Belding. He obviously didn't know what to do. And so Mr. Belding comes in. Mr. Belding is sleeping at the school. My dude comes in his robe with shaving cream all over his face. And he's trying to tell them how great it is. You know, this is his bachelor pad. And, you know, he's making plans for them for the weekend, and Zack and Slater look at each other like, whoa, like, no. And this is when we get another timeout. It's been a long time since we got a Zack timeout, but Zack is like, no, I am not about this Mr. Belding life. We are not spending our weekends with Mr. Belding. So he makes a phone call to a florist, and he gets flowers delivered to Mr. Belding and to Becky Belding, and they both say that they're from each other. So when they go see Mr. Belding, after the timeout, they're wearing t-shirts that say men on the back. They were wearing matching t-shirts, and I was like, where the fuck did they get, why are they wearing matching shirts? But when they walk out, you can see on the back, it has like a logo that says like men rule or something like that. Mr. Belding was setting up a whole like, men's society. Like, you have one argument with your wife and all of a sudden it's like, I hate women. Like what was going on with your marriage? Because Mr. Belding actually does make he makes the point to, at some point he says that, his wife has thrown away 15 years of marriage. And it's like, after one argument, you're an adult, Mr. Belding. You're an old man. Like, how are you throwing away your marriage? How was your marriage over after one argument about your mother-in-law? Oh, he's so frustrating. So, they go to Mr. Belding's office and they're talking to Mr. Belding, and Mr. Belding obviously is like, he's had a change of heart already. He's seen, he has the flowers with him, and Zack and Slater are pretending like they want him to still be part of their woman hater thing. And, you know, Mr. Belding is not trying to hear that shit. It makes it so much worse what he was doing. You know, his whole teaching the boys to be against women is so much worse when you think he's like 50 and he's telling these like impressionable children that, you know, women don't need men don't need women, you know, the women need the men, you have to put your foot down and all that shit. And it's like, immediately he thinks his wife apologizes and he's like, oh, you know, fuck all that shit I was talking about before, I'm going home to my wife. So, but when you think about it, well, these kids have been really fucking with Mr. Belding's mind for a really long time. I mean, they convinced him that he was babysitting Kelly's brother. a few episodes ago. They convinced him that he knew her brother. So, yeah, they've been fucking with his mind for a long time. So I should give Mr. Belding a break, right? So Zack and Slater have this moment when Mr. Belding runs out of his office. They look at each other and they act out this little moment together where they're like, hey, Preppy, don't ever leave me. And it's like, no, I'll never leave you. And they do a thing where they like smooch each other. And it's this, they've had, I don't know. It's like there's really, it's like I guess it's a cool moment between them. Like, cool is like all relative, but it's this moment where I think I was expecting a gay thing, like an anti-gay thing. I don't know what I'm trying to say. It was a more intimate moment between these two boys who were friends, and I don't expect it on this show. So I kind of liked it. It was a jokey moment. It was obviously not meant to be anything, but I liked it. So I'm going to give Saved by the Bell credit because I like this moment between them. So we move on to the Max at night because they own the Max now. They own the Max. And so they invite Jesse and Kelly to the Max. And they set up a table for them. And Zach comes in and he announces that what they have going on right now is What I Should Have Said theater. So the theater is that they act out the moments where they had their big arguments and they do what they should have done instead. So Lisa comes in. She's dressed as Jessie. She has a big Jessie wig on and she's wearing one of Jessie's horrible outfits. She even has on a tie. And so they act out the moment where they broke up, and Slater basically just does everything that Jessie wants him to do. So when she announces that they're going to that she has tickets to the ballet, he rips up his football tickets and he has pull off clothes on that only happen on TV. Like, I don't know how he got a whole outfit made of like Velcro so he could pull it off. But he pulls off his entire outfit and he has on a leotard under it and he dances a ballet for Jessie. And that's when Screech comes in. Screech and Zach come in and Screech is playing Kelly, and Kelly should be really insulted because the only thing Screech does is he does a cheer for everything that she says. So when Zach says something, she's like, LOVE, Zach. Yeah, so she's just making cheers out of everything. And I'm like, oh my God, Kelly, that's how your friends see you. They see you as just this stupid cheerleader that's walking around spelling out everything. Oh, and I'm like, poor Kelly. You can't win. Like, even when you're in the right, you still lose because your friends think you're a fucking idiot. So your friends, the only friends you have, think you're stupid. I don't know. It'll get better. College or go marry Todd. But even I was thinking about that. I was like, I have an uncle Todd and he kind of ain't shit. So never trust Todds. That's my tip for the kids out there in this episode. Don't trust dudes named Todd. You'll be a lot better off if you listen to me because I know all the Todds that I have ever known have been ain't shit. So trust me. So they act that all out and everybody makes up and it's all love again and lots of kissing and lots of woohoos from the audience for these really pecks on the cheek that they get. Well, no. Jesse and Slater do give full-on kisses, so you can get the woohoo for them. Zach and Kelly, not so much. It's really like tame for them. It's really like pecks on the mouth, pecks on the lips and everything, not full-on kissing. Jesse and Slater full on, I think they full on kiss. Yeah. and they hold it for a second. I mean, it's not like intense, like tongue making out, all that, but it's a lot more, it's like PG-13 when Zack and Callie are kind of rated G. So if you're into that, if you're looking to see teenagers kiss, look for Jesse and Slater, because that's where it's at. So that is the end of the episode, folks. Like I said earlier, hook up with me on social media this week because a lot of shit is going on. So you can follow me personally on Twitter at the_Ms_Introvert. On the podcast, you can follow on Twitter at TINerdPod, and use the hashtag TINWPod. That's TINWPOD on all your tweets, so I can see when you're tweeting at me and everything will be good. You can use that on Instagram too. So follow me on Instagram at TheIntrovertedNerd, and like the Facebook page at facebook.com/TheIntrovertedNerd. And you can send feedback to TheIntrovertedNerd@gmail.com. So you're getting back-to-back episodes this week. So until tomorrow, when we'll be talking about Black Lightning, later, people.